And you know, us sports moms have something to say.
Yes, we do.
We'll have a chance to interview across the board, from athletes to the parents to the coaches to even the trainers.
And we're not afraid to share our journey. We're not afraid to tell other moms what we went through in order to raise up a student athlete.
So I believe that it's inspirational.
We able to tell our story, the good and the bad.
We can give back positive information.
Absolutely.
You know, we can empower them.
Yeah, I think it's time for the mothers to be a voice.
Yeah, that's it.
It's time for us to let you know what's going on.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shannon, at Can We Talk Sports. I am here with my host.
Hey, what's up, you? Shannon, I've been practicing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? It's Karen.
No, Karen. We got to do better.
Okay.
I have been away for a few days. I thought you was really practicing.
I did really good when you wasn't on the show the other day. I was just like you. Hey, it's Karen on What Can We Talk Sports? What's up? I'm here with my host, Kawash. And then I was like, Kawashika. So.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna get together and practice.
I need lessons.
We're gonna get you a radio voice. We're gonna practice this.
I need lessons. Yeah.
All right. So, what do you know? What? Tell us about the Million. What is it the conference that you're on?
It's called Millions Conference. This is my third year, and today is VIP, and so it's for entrepreneurs, those who are, entrepreneur is the new famous, and those who are trying to start businesses, but it has a little church ram to it. We have 7 days before the conference, we have fasting for 7 days.
Wow.
And the organizer, Tiffany Montgomery, she's really, really strict with who she allows to come on. She don't allow anybody to come on. You have to really be professing and walking in the will of God before she would even bring you on. And so, but these people, all the different people, they come on and tell their story, how they became famous and what products and stuff they have launched, but it's all in one space. So, today was a good day. They did it on a different platform. It's probably thousands of people on the platform. And I was just like, how is she going to pull this off? And so I saw the platform, and I love how it's working. We get to network with other people. And so it's great with technology. COVID-19 forced us to be pulled into that world, to have another avenue to be able to get to people. And so
it forced you to change it. It was a reality check. You know what I'm saying? Those are the conversations I've sat down with Jordan and Josh and Jay and all of them at the house, Jaden and them. It's like, okay, you got a reality check. All right, what's plan B? All right, and then what's plan C? And then let's keep on going down the line. And so, it forced people to be creative. So, but on my end, things are pretty good. I'm still here because these kids, all these athletes in this house.
Well,
it's been good. God has allowed us to just, minister and pour into these young guys, that are staying here with us. It's been good. We've had some heart-to-heart conversations, and they're, are dealing with the reality of, okay, what if I don't go to the NFL this year? They haven't given up. They're just dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So they haven't wiped it out to say we'll never go back, but it's like, let's deal with right now. So they've been, in the beginning, it was rocky.
Right.
Because when they all came here to train with Jordan, it was like, okay, this is going to pass. And then time went on, and then they keep pushing back the date. And so now it's like, okay, you know what, let's sit down and have the real heart-to-heart conversation.
Right.
On what are we going to do? What does it look like? How does it look like financially? So I'm pretty proud of them. I'm pretty proud of them. Now there's those days me and my husband were like, we're going to put a tent outside.
Right.
And we're going to put all of y'all out there in the tent.
Right.
But other than that, it's been pretty good. And I tell you what, I am so proud of Jaden. COVID did something to Jaden because when I say that girl stepped up her game, I don't know if it's just the training with her brother, but the coaches had to call me. And when they call, I know because they'll call me in a minute. Jaden ain't doing what she's supposed to do, or she's slacking, or she's not playing. Coaches called. Matter of fact, he called the other day. He's like, her game, I don't know what happened to her, but her game is, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. You know,
She still can't take me though.
She can when your knee and your hip and all that stuff hurts. She has to know the right time to get you.
We're not gonna confess that. She got her skills from me. Let me stop playing.
But what I just got when you was just talking about the guys being at your house, and I know, you know, your Evolve Sports and all the things you're doing, I got that you are able to actually do it, teach them everything, your whole program. And it's not about them coming to you at a location. You're able to do it right now in your house with the athlete that God has brought in your house right now. You're able to walk through that program, refine it, and get it all together. You're able to do it right now with those boys. So, you know, God has a plan for everything. You know, you just never know.
You just got to be able to shift with it. So
yeah.
But all right, so we're getting ready. I'm pretty excited about this show. Now, I will say this. I am not responsible for what comes out of our guest's mouth. I was a good girl. Okay. They are family. So anything they say about me, please do not believe them. I was a good girl. No, let me stop.
I'm definitely gonna ask them what was Little Shannon like. Tell us some horror stories about
my sisters. You know, they say this and that, but I'm like, I wasn't that bad.
You was that.
I don't remember.
You was that baby that probably told everything.
Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna do like my husband said. I'm gonna play the nut role. I don't know what I'm talking about. So, but anyway, we will be right back after this with our guest Jay Ellis and Paula Ellis.
All right.
How did I imagine my life? I think like most children, I imagined I'd be rich and famous.
Quite a bit of it is exactly how I imagined it. But that meantime, hey!
And I didn't have any of the prerequisites set up. I was not union.
Starting a media company on Instagram was something that wasn't heard of, and it actually didn't make any sense to anyone.
Who introduced me to Christ? This is a funny story.
My college year, freshman year, I went full-blown atheist.
Are you saved? And I was like, what does that mean?
I can't believe you joined church when I wasn't there.
No, we could do real therapy. She was like, but I love Jesus, so it's all over me. So you might get a little bit of that.
This just happened. Like, I just had a conversation with God, and he came in and he ate with me.
The fact that there's a space and an outlet to just talk about God.
Hey, may I say you look very sharp in that suit.
Thanks, man.
It's good looking.
I couldn't let my family down, man.
Yeah,
my dad is here somewhere.
Oh, your dad? Where is your dad?
I'm not really sure, but let me tell you something. I told him, there he is, right there. I told him that I was going to be on the Jimmy
How
Kimmel
you
show.
doing?
Yeah.
He looks good, too.
He looks good. He looks great. I told him I was going to be on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and he goes, Jimmy Kimmel from The Man Show? And I was like, no, Jimmy Kimmel from the Jimmy Kimmel Show. And he was like, yeah, him too.
They're the same guy. Yeah, they're the same guy. Well, good to see you, and a Ziggy Sagi to you as well. How long have you been acting like professionally?
Well, man, I don't even know anymore. I feel like the years in LA, you know, it all just kind of comes together.
You worked for a basketball team though before that, right?
Yeah, I interned for the Portland Trailblazers while I was in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was probably the darkest years in NBA history. What
year was this? Was this the Jailblazers era?
This is the Jailblazers.
Oh,
year.
it was.
Maurice Cheeks was the head coach. I feel so sorry for this guy. He had Ruben Patterson, who called himself the Kobe Stopper.
Okay.
To which Kobe dropped 40 points like every single time he played him. He also had Bonzi Wells, who got suspended for a fight. Damon Stoudemire, yeah, Rasheed Wallace. I mean, it was a crash course in learning what not to do in life.
What was your job with the team?
So I was an intern in the PR department. So
great.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can feel my pain. So I learned how to write a lot of press releases, man. Basically, like every time the players, you know, would get in trouble, we would have to like spin some story as to why they got in trouble, which usually was just an apology to the fans and to the NBA.
Right.
Like, there's only so many times you can say, no, it wasn't them. Like, they weren't driving from Seattle with a bunch of weed in the car. They're so sorry they'll never do it again until next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. It was a good time.
Do you love clicking buttons and subscribing to things?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you guys?
How
are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So before we get started, we like to play a game called Would You Rather? All right, let's jump right in. My first question, I have two questions, one for Paula and one for Jay. All right, Jay, would you rather, if there was a dream team, if you could play on a dream team, would it be LeBron, Curry, and Kobe, or would you play with Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman?
Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman.
Well, you know, look, now people, you know, young people, they're always talking about LeBron, Curry, and, you know, back then Kobe. So, hey,
I believe that Kobe belongs in the conversation with Michael 100%. And I love LeBron and completely respect his game and Steph. But that dream team, that Bulls team, that gave us the dream. We didn't even know we could dream about that until we met them.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, you got young people who say, oh, I'd rather play with LeBron and Curry and Kobe. So, you know, it's like, let me ask the question. All right, Paula, would you rather dance like Beyonce or sing like Anita Baker?
Sing like Anita Baker.
Yeah,
I went to go see her, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And her voice is absolutely incredible. And yeah, to have that voice for a life, yeah, I will take that voice.
Oh, wow. I bet that was a nice was it a concert?
Yeah, it was concert. It was her very last concert. She is getting ready to go into residency in Vegas and have her own show. Right. This was right before COVID. So she was ready to she was doing her last tour, and then she's going to be in residency in Las Vegas. And her show was incredible. She can sing. I mean, it is so crystal clear. Her voice is beautiful.
Wow.
Okay, we'll have to check it out. I have to check it out.
Now, Paula, we let everybody know that you are Shannon's sister.
Yes.
So tell us about.
I'm the little sister. She's the older sister.
Oh, well, tell us something about as a little girl. Tell us about Shannon.
Tell you about she was
good,
spoiled, right? Always got her way.
Oh, that's that baby girl.
It was the baby girl syndrome. She always told you traitor. She was a traitor. She turned you into my mom all the time. It was.
We're gonna edit this. Oh, I forgot we lied. We can't edit it.
Oh, yeah. She couldn't hold her tongue.
Okay. Listen. I was little, y'all. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. I was little. So I'm gonna blame it on little. All right. So let's jump right in. Okay. So can we talk sports? We've been talking about since COVID, transitioning and having an A and B plan. And the reason why I wanted to bring Jay on and you guys on is because when Jay went to college, he started off playing basketball. But somewhere down the line, there was a plan B, right? Mm-hmm. So let's kind of go back to Jay. How did you was going to school, play basketball in high school? Okay. And you actually tried out for college. Kind of take us on this journey, your basketball career, and to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I got really lucky my senior year. I just had a really great year. Our team went to the state tournament. I personally, as a player, individually as a player, was captain of the team and you know, just had a really good year and kind of stood out. And I had a coach who I got lucky. My coach had coached previously in the NBA. I mean, had played in the NBA and had coached. He was a director of basketball operations at Oklahoma State. So he knew a bunch of people. And so when the time came, and I said I wanted to go play in college, he was able to make some calls and people were able to pick up the phone. And, I got to school. I did a bunch of visits and ultimately landed on a school in Portland, Oregon. And, I remember getting there my freshman year, and I remember the first open gym we played, and I was like, oh, these guys are good. They have no shot of going to the league. And not in a disrespectful way, but just we were in such a small conference in such a small school. The chances of someone seeing us from that level were slim, right? And so, I just had a lot of guys I played with ended up going abroad and playing overseas. And so I just remember having this wake-up call where like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to put every single thing on the line every single day and give my all. But I'm also going to be very realistic in knowing that I am using this experience as a practice field for what is going to happen next in my life. How I'm a leader next in my life, how I'm a teammate next in my life, how I contribute, and learning lessons from other people on my team along the way. And so, as I started to graduate school, I started to think about what were those things that I wanted to do. And for me, acting was one of those things. And I still hoop. I still play basketball nonstop, whenever I get a chance. But I fell in love with something else and found that same camaraderie and team feeling in what I do now.
So now you ask now, Miss Paula, what was you doing at that time as a mom, as far as his journey? Was you continuing to encourage him in sports, or were you saying, okay, you can do something else? What was your mindset frame, during that time?
For my husband and I, education was always the key. And so we always told him he could be whatever he wanted in life. It was his option, and to always position himself that it is your option, right? And so for us, the way we saw to do that was through education. And what you then do with your life is totally up to you, but you need this springboard. And so with that, he was always really a great student. So in our mind, we always had rewards that went with the grades. And if the grades ever fell off, then the rewards went away, right? So we were always talking that talk, but we also incentivized it and made sure that he really understood how important it was to us. The early years, we won't talk about them, but definitely like when he was in high school, he was just an amazing student. He got to this point where he didn't need us to tell him that his grades were important. He understood the relationship, between risk and return. And so with stepping out, doing well in his classes, there was always something there that we were incentivizing him with. And then also exposing him. I think it's so important that you expose your kids. And so we were always trying to show him. I remember as a kid, he was in elementary school when I told him he had to pick out his college. And I would buy him every year these books. Back then, there was no internet, right? So we would have these journals that you could buy in the store once a year that had all the colleges in them. And then I would tell him, I wouldn't tell him to pick out undergrad. Do you remember that? I would always say pick out graduate school, because if I say pick out graduate school, undergrad was a given, right?
Wow.
So I would say pick out the graduate school. Where do you plan to get your master's? And we never had a conversation about going to undergrad, because then that was just always a given. And so we started him on that in elementary school, and he would always be so excited to get those books every year and look through all the college. So we just thought it was so important to plant those seeds early on. And those were the kind of conversations that we had with him.
So during this time, did you ever have the 1% conversation? Because, it's only 1% make it to the NFL, to the NBA. Yeah. Jay, did you want to go to the NBA? Is that something?
I had dreams like everybody else. I remember writing myself $100 million check.
And we framed it.
From the Seattle Supersonics. And it was on the fridge for a while. We laminated it and it was on the fridge, and then we framed it. That's right. And then the Supersonics were no longer a franchise. So my dreams very quickly started to go the other way. I started to realize things change fast. But no, I think very quickly, I mean, Shannon, you know this. We were in a city where a lot of kids get to go play in college, and a lot at whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, baseball, soccer, even we see a lot of kids from that city go play at very high levels, and we don't see necessarily a lot of those kids make it to the highest level. And so I think even for me, being in a city where I watched so many kids that I was in awe of their athletic ability and of their talent, I started to realize that like, oh, their careers ended here, or this is the way their career then went. And so, you know, I could think of one baseball player, one basketball player, two basketball players, and maybe two or three football players who were all in the league of their leagues of the, you know, I don't know how many seniors were in that city, maybe 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 seniors were in the city at all these different schools. And so I think for me, it was realizing like that target is a hard target to hit, and not impossible, but it's a very hard target to hit.
So I know during the time, it's funny, I would hear my older sister tell about when Jay wanted to play basketball, Paula would be out there playing against him. Talking about, you not ready, be fouling him and everything. She'd be out there trying to train him. It was so funny when they talk about it. So now during this time, you're transitioning mentally because the reality is setting in. So, but yet you get a scholarship for basketball.
Yeah.
So tell us, how was that when you went to college for basketball on the scholarship?
I mean, it was you know, all of a sudden you're playing against grown men. You know, I mean, in reality, you know, I was playing against, especially because at my school, we had two seniors that year who at 18 immediately went in the service, and they did their 2 or 3 years in the service, and then they came back and they played basketball. So their clock didn't start until they were 21 years old. So they were now seniors at 25. They were men compared to my 18-year-old mentality and body, right? So I think that was a big wake-up call. I remember I had a big freshman class. There were 6 of us, I think 6 or 7 of us. And I remember we were all competitive because we all wanted to get a spot and play and, you know, all of that. But then B, we were also super supportive of each other because we were all far away from home. We all realized how hard it really was. And we knew that like, we all played a part in some way. And maybe my part was going to be in practice, and maybe next year was going to be my chance to really, make a difference on the court. But I think there was something there where I realized that like, as much as I'm competing against these guys, they are also my teammates. And so it doesn't benefit me to tear them down in any way or destroy them in any way. You know what I mean? It benefits me to make them as best as they can possibly be so we can achieve a goal together. And then I think in that also, I just started to realize that you can be in love with other things while still chasing this thing, right? You can find things that you're passionate about or care about. And you can still have your tunnel vision on whatever your sport is all you want, but every once in a while you can peek and kind of look at this other thing and say, oh, that thing kind of attracts me. And I think about it, I think the thing for me that made me realize that, there were 2 people that made me realize that. One was Wayman Tisdale, RIP, because he came out and won a Grammy as a jazz musician after playing in the NBA. Right. And a lot of people don't know that Wayman hit like 83 points in college with no 3-point line. Right. So Wayman had another love. Although he was a fantastic basketball player, he had another love. And then the other one for me was on the business side, and that was Barry Sanders. He used to own a black bank in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And all I could think about was Barry Sanders breaking Russian records, but here he was in a bank. And so it made me realize that like even athletes who love what they do and are at the top of what they do have other passions and have other things that they love.
Yeah, because it doesn't last forever. The sport doesn't last forever. Go ahead, Karen.
Now, you were saying at that time you was peeking over and seeing another love. Now, do you think that was up to a parent to expose you to another love, or was that more of you as a person? Because I say that because as a mom, you know, sometimes our kids sports become their identity, and we don't expose them to anything else other than sports. And so I was one of those parents. I didn't expose, and so my son is challenged of find out what else he loved to do. But you said, you know, you were able to peek over. So did your mom help you with that, or you just had that desire looking over to do something else?
I mean, I think it was a little both. I think it's a little nature nurture. I think who I am as a person, I'm naturally curious. So I think that's part of it. I like being a student. I like learning. So I think there's also that. So for me, that applied to both X's and O's and looking at playbooks and studying my opponents as much as it meant, like, you know, looking at other things and studying why, you know, this person did this thing with their career in banking or in industry, or it was a titan in tech or whatever it was. I think I was naturally kind of curious to that stuff, but I do think some of the exposure helped, because I think my natural curiosity to some of that led my parents to say, oh, there's other things out there you can go see. Like, let's take you to Dallas. Let's just get you out of Oklahoma. Let's take you to Dallas so you can see what another city looks like, what a big metropolitan city looks like. Let's take you to New York. Let's take you to Chicago. Like, let's just do these little road trips and take you places so you can see what other things look like. But I think, you know, I do think that, you know, I don't know if your kids were like this, Shannon. I know the boys have kind of been like this, but like, I did karate, I did baseball, I did soccer, I did basketball, I was in a band, because I was trying to figure it all out. And I think by the time I got to my early 20s is when I started to realize, at that point I was on my own in finding it, but I felt like I had been equipped with the skills of knowing that there are other things out there, and B, you can go look for those other things and try them and see if they work and if they don't work. Because I don't think the one thing is the thing. Right. You know, sometimes it's like dating. Sometimes you got to try 4 or 5. You know, sometimes. I mean, you know, I'm not saying mine.
Look at it. I'm not gonna touch that conversation, y'all. I'm gonna keep it right here. No, but you know what? You're right, because even during this COVID, we're realizing and meeting young men who are mentally, they're depressed, because no one showed them other avenues. All they knew was football, or all they knew was basketball. And so now their identity was at risk. It was like, well, who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Okay, wait, I don't. And it's funny because they have degrees, right? Like, they graduated, have degrees, but it's like, okay, I got the degree. I'm gonna sit it over here. That's to the side. This is where I am. They never peaked out. They don't know how to peak out.
Yeah.
But because my sister and my brother-in-law, which I mean, they're amazing. They took you on that journey to show you, okay, this is out there. Okay, this is in New York. Okay, this is over here. Yeah. So you was exposed to all those things where a lot of these guys aren't exposed. So like with Jordan, you know, me starting Evolve was to give him that backup plan, because I knew his focus was football, but at the same time, we would have these conversations. Okay, so what if something happens? Or what if, you know, you don't make the 1%? So I always put in the back of his mind when he was young, be prepared, you know? And from our show, we have a lot of coaches and trainers and counselors tell us a lot of these guys weren't even prepared. So when COVID happened, it just mentally did something to them.
It rocks you.
Yeah.
It rocked them.
I think we all have felt that in some way, but I think a lot of my friends who are purists, who are actors and who are purists, and like that is what they do, are in the same exact spot, right? Because similar to an athlete, I can't, my court or my field is now a stage with lights and cameras and a crew, right? My trainers are a crew or a makeup artist or, you know, my barber, like that is my team and my facility and my front office. And now all of a sudden we don't have that in our world. So I think it is, and I have a lot of friends who I think are facing the same issue right now. Some younger and earlier in their careers, and some are later in their careers and who have been very successful, but are all of a sudden like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not on set. I don't know why am I here? Why am I sitting in LA? Why am I in this house? Why am I alone? Why am I with this person? Whatever it is, all these things are starting to kind of come up because of that.
So I'm getting to Jordan's question because I've got to build up to it. So you college, from my understanding, you were playing pickup ball. Is that how your career started for acting? Can you tell us kind of how you transitioned from basketball to acting? And then I have a question for Paula. So go ahead.
It was a long transition, but I guess you could say it started with a bad pickup game. This kid who used to come play pickup at my university, his mom was a booker for a modeling agency. He told me that they were looking for extras for a commercial. I go and do the commercial. I meet this young woman who is the principal of the commercial, and she tells me that she just got back from Asia. She was there for 3 months. She got paid $30,000, and I was like, "Yo, sign me up." I was like, "Sign me up." So don't nobody know me in Korea. So the stories ain't getting back. Tell me. So she tells me who the name of her agency. I go to her agency, and that actually started me modeling. And I think my starting the model was my thought was that would take me a step closer to acting. Like that would be my bridge into acting. And it wasn't the case. They were far apart. But what I do think it gave me is I got to learn how to be a professional on a set and what is expected of me by a director and by a producer and wardrobe and hair and makeup. I got to kind of learn some of those things. Anyway, long story short, I bounced around as a model for a little bit and then ultimately ended up moving to LA. And by this time, I had kind of quit modeling and was just solely focused on acting. And from there, it's a long story and it's crazy and it's got a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs. But ultimately, I had come to a point in my life where I had gotten laid off from this job, and my boss called me and told me or my boss had just gotten laid off, and she called me and told me that I was probably going to be next. And all I could think about was that I had moved to LA to be an actor, but I was too afraid to do it because I didn't want to be told no. I didn't want to be rejected. And I just remember thinking to myself, everything I've done in LA at this point, I could have done anywhere else, any city. I could have stayed home at my parents' house and not pay bills for a little bit. I could have did anything else. But
was you telling him that, Paul?
I think she made the difference because they had to saying, nope.
And so
y'all don't know my sister. I'm trying to tell y'all that ain't even her cup of tea. I don't know why Jay said that. She was like, no.
But I just had this moment where I realized, I know what I want to do in my life and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to give myself a real opportunity and a real shot to go do it. And if it doesn't happen in 2-3 years, or if it feels like I haven't had any forward momentum, then cool. I have a degree. I have a plan B. I can go back and I can start at the very, very bottom and start entry level and in the finance world or insurance or whatever it is, or go get a master's, whatever it is, I can go back and I can kind of start building a career from there. And so that's when, from there, again, like that kind of focus and that singular focus and that myopic view of the world kind of came back in because all I thought about was acting every single day. And then I had some breaks along the way and met some agents and, ultimately ended up getting some jobs. But it is pretty much all because of, a kid, and me playing pickup in Portland, Oregon.
Wow. That's amazing. So one area of your passion led you to another area of your passion, which basically the basketball was a vehicle.
Yeah.
So now during this time, Paula, he's in college playing ball, and then all of a sudden his vehicle takes him another way into acting. What was that phone call like, or that conversation like?
Well, by this time he's out of college, and he called us, and he initially said, "I'm going to take some acting classes, and I don't want you guys to worry. I haven't quit my day job." And we were like, "Cool, don't quit it." we are his big, we are down for our son, but don't quit your day job. Like that's life. That's the hustle, because if you want it, you'll hustle for it, right? And it was the same way when I went to undergrad. I couldn't quit my day job. I had to go to school full time and work full time. It wasn't an option. We didn't eat as a family. That's just the reality of it. But if I wanted it bad enough, I was going to do it. And then he called back a couple of months later and said, I quit my day job, but hold on, I got a plan. But I don't want y'all to worry, you know, and he walked us through his strategy and his plan. And, you know, he understood that he had to have saved his money. He had paid off all his bills. He had stuck, you know, something back. He sacrificed. He moved into a smaller place. He sold his car. Like, he did a lot of things to try to give himself running room, right? You always have to have running room. That's the challenge with these kids today. They are literally intoxicated and drunk off of social media. They think they're going to walk out and it's going to happen instantly. Yeah. What people don't realize is the running room that Jay gave himself, right? And on that runway, there are rocks on the runway. Just because you're playing, you don't think your plane hit them. There are some potholes and there are rocks, and those are all the things you have to experience. And so, you know, we've always let him know that we are supportive of him and that we believe in him. But the reality of it is it's a process, and he has to walk it out for himself. We can't walk it out for him. But we always wanted him to know that we were with him. We believed in him. And if that was something that he wanted to pursue, we were like, go forth and conquer. That's what your 20s are for. Your 20s are for going forth and figuring it out, what you want to do before you get married, before you get your family. And so he said, this is the game plan. And we said, cool.
Wow. Because
I just want to note one thing really quick. That you missed the starting point of this story, which was that I actually hadn't told them anything, but Jordan Smallwood snitched on me because he saw me in a commercial.
Oh, Jordan, you watching? I don't remember that
commercial. The very first job I ever booked was it was a Lexus commercial. And he saw my face in a Lexus commercial, and he called my dad and said, is Jay in a commercial? And my dad was like, no. So then my dad calls me.
Jay said lies.
Yeah, I just went on my lunch break and I booked it. I had been auditioning for like 6-7 months at that point. Yeah. But and then that's when I told them what my plan was.
Yeah. Wow. So go ahead, Karen. You had a question.
I forgot.
So now during all this journey, acting, now watch this vehicle. So the vehicle starts with basketball to college to acting. Then it actually connects my sister, right?
Yes.
And it drives her into, because Paula's she's very creative. You know, when we were young, it's funny because when I moved to Tulsa, she used to always send out blogs to family members, and it would be a word of encouragement. She's very creative, and she wanted to be a fashion designer, could sew. There's nothing Paula could do. So I was the athlete. So our older sister, she was drumline. She played softball. Paula was more the model, the fashion, and, you know, I did all the sports. So during this time, my sister now is working in corporate America. You know what I'm saying? She's up there in corporate. So Jay goes to acting. Gets into being an actor. But now the vehicle, it's funny because it had her in it, right? It's funny how God set things up. Yeah. So the vehicle kind of had her in it, which now she moved to LA. And so at that moment, tell us about the aha moment you had when you left your job and went after your passion.
Well, it wasn't that I was going after a passion. It was finance was a passion, right? I always saw myself as a C-suite executive. You could never tell me I wasn't going to make it. I knew that I would hit that mark, and I did, because God had showed me when he told me was it time to go back to undergraduate school, and I did. I always knew that was going to happen for me. One of the things that drove me to want to go back to school as a young mom was I wanted to be able to demonstrate to Jay what could be. There had been no one in our family that had graduated from college on my dad's side, my mom's side. None of if you can imagine, all of our cousins, there had never been a college graduate. And I was determined I was going to be the first. I wanted my son to see me do it. I didn't want to stand in the background and tell him. I wanted him to see it. And so, and I knew that God would use it. He told me he would use it. And so finance, God blessed me with this amazing career in finance. And he had told me that he was going to call me out of finance And I didn't know how he was going to do it. And literally the opportunity of me leaving finance and Jay asking his dad and I to consider relocating to LA was happening.
Wait, oh my God. The family. Oh, Lord.
We were having these conversations at the same time, but lo and behold, we had just came out here to be with him that June. And we'd gone to, we hung out with him, and we got back to Tulsa, and he called. That was that time that was different. There was something different in his voice. And he said, I really wish you and Dad would consider. And we had always had these conversations when he had gone off to college in Oregon. He was like trying to get us to move to Oregon, like move to Oregon. And we were like, no, you're young. You don't understand. Like, you're just starting and we're in a different place. But this particular conversation that we had after we got back from LA that summer it was different. There was something different in his voice. And I remember he said to me, he said, Mom, I know I can do this. And I would love it if you and Dad are here. And it was that moment. Like, he always knows who to call for what. So he knew when he hit me with that I was going to get on the phone, call Big Wendell. And I remember calling Wendell immediately. And my comment to Wendell was, I said, hey, Houston, we have a problem. He's like, I said, your son just called. And I said, I think we just maybe moved you. And he was like, what? And so we had this conversation, and we both knew that was the time. I was wanting to transition, and we had thought about moving to LA, but at the time, LA seemed so big to us. And I remember when we got here, I still wasn't thinking entertainment. I was just happy to be able to have some time off, travel with Jay, help him in any way I could. That was my mindset, to just help him wherever he needed help or whatever I could do for him. And he was the one, this is the one who encouraged me. And the thing that I love about Jay's journey was that ultimately he had that mirror moment with himself and said, you know what? The thing that I want the most, I'm hiding from it, and I'm going to go out here and give it my all. And that inspired me in such a way to feel confident that I could do it again. God made finance and the life that we had when I was in corporate America available to me. I felt like he would do it again. And so Jay said, you know what, Mom, I think you need to go into entertainment. Your skill set, what you did in operations for the bank would line up perfectly. And so that was literally how I got in the vehicle, if you will, and started that journey of, well, I went back to school because I'm a believer of the education process. And so I started taking classes and as many workshops as I could. I started bartering on my services. I was like, if you let me have access on your set, I'll do your accounting books at discounted rates. And here I was. And see, I was a COO and it didn't matter. I had to start from the bottom in entertainment. I had to start all over. I mean, I was like, I'll PA for you. I started at the bottom. It didn't bother me because I understood I did it once and I could do it again. And so that was kind of how that journey started.
Yeah, I remember, Jay, you said something about Mom was in the kitchen singing, started from the bottom. Now we're here. So this journey it's actually a beautiful journey. So now that we're here, okay. So Jay, you're climbing the ladder. Movies, actually just finished the Top Gun movie. You're in Insecure. There's things happening. Paula, you just did Behind Her Faith, along with some other things that you produced. You guys are working together as a team. COVID hit. Mentally, where did you go? Because at that moment, didn't you was it like, God, wait, what is this? How did you respond to the situation is the question.
Which one?
We probably had different responses because your boy don't run. I needed a break. So for me, COVID and God was like, okay, I'm gonna run with it. You know, I've had a very blessed couple of years, and you know, I think when you add it up, I hadn't had more than 2 weeks from in front of a camera in 23 or 24 months. Wow. And I think, you know, while that is
amazing.
While it's amazing and, you know, like hitting the lottery, I think people don't also understand what the hours really look like, right? Because it's 13, 14, 15 hours a day that we're talking.
Wow.
You know, in and out of the office in 8 hours, right? And I'm interfacing with upwards of 100 to 150 people a day because of the crew that I work with, right? And when I am on set, especially on my show, when I'm on set, you know, I'm usually the character whose story we're following. So it's my set, so to speak, as an actor, right? So, so there's also a bit of responsibility and leadership that goes on with that as well. So, and then Top Gun was its own animal, and then I was shooting a movie in South Africa, which was a whole other thing. So, you know, for me, COVID, and then just had a baby. So for me, COVID was a break. COVID was like, oh, I get to be home with my family, with my parents, with my daughter, with my girl. Like we actually get to like be a family for a little bit. And also it was a time for me personally to get done a lot of writing and development work that kind of hits a stall when I go away to work. Because when I go away, now in this digital age that has now come out of COVID and everyone can do meetings on Zoom and StreamYard and everything else, whatever, now that will all change. But pre this movement, everything was all meetings were always in person, and I would be gone, which meant meetings on the development end for stuff that I'm putting together would get dragged out because of my schedule, and my writing would get dragged out because I had to remember 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages of dialogue for the next day, plus whatever meetings I may have, and plus I got to get to the gym every single day and all of those things, plus be a father and be a son and all of those things, and a fiance. So for me, you know, I hate that it was under the circumstances that it's been under. I will say that. I would never want my break to be at the expense of anyone's health or life. Right. But at the same time, it has given me an opportunity to be with my family and to do some things creatively that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to do.
What about you?
For me, it was different. For me, it was, I'm still young in this part of the season of my life, right? It's still a brand new season for me. And I am not living off of the harvest. I am still working in the field. And so for me, I actually was excited because in the sense, just what Jay is saying, you don't want something to come at the hardship of someone else. But how I saw it was, the world has to slow down. That gives me more time to catch up. Like I still, you know, I can think about what I'm doing. I can still be planting more seeds. That's how I process it. So in every single, you know, in every single opportunity or in every single challenge of your life, there is an opportunity. It's up to you to claim it, right? Out of a lemon came lemonade. And so out of a lemon came lemon tarts. Out of lemons come an amazing salad dressing. It's up to you to claim the opportunity. And so that's my thing is, I'm excited. I'm out here. I'm working on projects. I'm pitching projects. And I'm excited that I love the digital space. And so what's happening now is there's a lot more interest. There was interest in digital, but it has totally changed. And so I'm trying to figure out how to maybe position myself specifically in the digital space because I love the streaming aspect of it. I love the style of docuseries from a storytelling. I like, you know, in this season of my life, things that are true, that are representing someone's journey is very important to me. And so, again, I saw it as an opportunity.
So do you feel the choice of your career from the beginning helped you become as broad as you are now? Do you know what I'm saying? In other words, it's like you've had to, Paula, so you've had to, in your career in the banking, you've had to move quick, fast, make decisions. So your choice of career actually prepared you for this, would you say?
Yeah. You know, I tell people, I mentor like maybe 10, 12 young women here in LA, and they're all the ages of maybe 26 to about 35, right? And the thing that I'm always telling them is every seed that you're planting today is going to show up later in the process. So don't worry about it. You know, it's going to be there, and you're going to look back and go, oh my God, I can't believe it. Yes, I can use that. And that's what my journey was like, right? I learned in banking, in finance, I learned how to sell money, how to negotiate, how to pitch, how to stand up a company, how to scale, how to hire, how to fire, and how to direct. Literally, you're directing people in finance. I'm doing all of those same things. What's different is my widget may be different, but I'm using all of those same skill sets, maybe a little different perspective. But all those things, that foundation that I learned from a finance standpoint actually makes me even stronger now, because so many people come to this industry and have no idea that it's business. They think just because they have a creative idea, it's just going to happen. And the reality of it is those are all the people who end up going home and they don't make it. This is called business for a reason. So it's not enough to be creative. You have got to understand business. And ultimately that no matter whether it's a television show, a movie, a digital series, there has to be a return on the performance, right?
Wow.
And having that understanding and mindset and coming here, it makes me be able to run faster than the person who is just coming here and starting as a producer, director.
So what would you say? Now you guys work together as a team, right? You guys.
On some projects. He does projects on his own. He has other business partners. So do I. And then there's opportunities that we collaborate on for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So now for someone that's watching, whether it's an athlete, because usually majority of our show is athletes watching. What would you say to them now, Jay? And I mean, what advice would you give them, an athlete?
I would say, first of all, know that whether you run with or catch a ball or throw a ball for the rest of your life, whether you do it or whether you don't do it, the skill set that you're learning as a teammate and as a contributor, in knowing your place on a team and knowing how to lead and knowing how to support people is something that you can take forward, right? The second thing I would say is don't be afraid. But thinking of finding something else you love or thinking about a plan B does not mean that your plan A won't come to fruition. And it doesn't mean that the thing that you love the most won't happen. It just means, I would venture that whoever your favorite athlete is in your given sport, once they've achieved the success that you want them to achieve, or that you want to achieve rather, my guess is that's when you see them start doing other things, right? All of a sudden, Russell Westbrook is the creative director for True Religion. All of a sudden,
wow,
Jordan is playing golf, you know what I mean? And probably was not thinking about golf while he was at North Carolina. But very quickly in his career, he all of a sudden became in love with golf. And I think that there are opportunities for you to find other things that you're passionate about. And that could be, listen, if all you do is play Madden or 2K or NBA 2K, maybe you want to be a video game developer and you don't even realize it.
Can we edit this out?
Twitch, watching you play, but be an actual developer. Maybe there is an opportunity for you to go learn how to put video games together. And that could be a real career path for you. And not only that, but your skill set as an athlete will help you once you start working for EA Sports and you have to work with athletes who are wearing motion core to actually be in these games, right? Or, I've talked to Jordan about this before. I believe, in my business, the agencies, some of the bigger agencies also represent athletes. And sometimes they represent athletes specifically for their given sport, and sometimes they represent them because they have businesses outside of their sport. But one of the things I always say is those agencies a lot of times are looking for former athletes, because who better to go recruit a kid to come let me be their agent than someone who knows how to speak their language, than someone who's got the same swag as them and bops their head the same way when they walk down the street, right? But that is just the relationship, but that is just the skill of A, being a good teammate, but B, you what you don't realize in your camaraderie in the locker room is that you have an offhand and an ease and a way of speaking with people that a lot of people who grow up in these mail rooms don't have. And you start and just are on the agent track that they don't have. And because you have that, you have something special that will help you excel if you learn how to use it. You know what I mean? Again, in that specific field. But again, I would just say that don't be afraid to have a hobby, to find another passion, and on that one day a week when you're not in the gym and you're not in practice, take it up, read a book, go to class, whatever it is, figure it out.
All right. So Jordan wants to know, what was your mindset moving to LA and how many no's did you get before you got yeses?
My mindset moving to LA is that I was going to be the Fresh Prince. I literally got a job in Beverly Hills. I'm not y'all. I literally got a job in Beverly Hills because my thought process was, oh, this is where all the agents are. So if I'm just here every day, one of them is gonna find me and be like, where you been? Like, what took you so long to get here? We got movies, we got TV shows, we got commercials, we got endorsement deals. Where you been? That wasn't the case.
Hard reality check, huh?
It was a hard reality check. And, I was young and I was wilding out. And I think, any city, it's a lot of opportunity there. And I think it is very easy to get distracted in that city because of it or in this city because of it. And I think I was very, very focused on that. And then what happened for me is as rejection started to come in, as those no's that he's talking about started to come in, it put little chinks in the armor and it made me feel insignificant and it made me feel small and it made me go find acceptance or yeses in other places, whether that be out in the club, whether places that weren't ultimately helping to my career path, right?
Wow.
And so, they say that the average actor hears no 700 times before you get the yes that changes your life as an actor, the big yes. And that's, so not you get one line on a TV show or maybe you do, 3 scenes on a TV show. It's like you're a series regular or you booked a movie and that financially it is changing your career because people in the town will look at you different, but it's also financially changing your life. They say that's about 700. I would venture to say that I probably had like 2,000 before I okay. But what I started to realize was every no was an opportunity for me to go find a yes. That just meant that like, okay, cool. I'm not meant to work with you right now, but I'm meant to work with someone right now. So I'll go find the person I'm meant to work with right now. And I'm very cocky. And so this is probably, but this is the athlete in me. And I go back and I say, it's cool. You'll be back. You'll come back around.
There's nothing wrong with that chip. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen players play with that chip and they either win the championship, the Super Bowl. So, I mean, if that chip kind of helped you.
You have to have it.
You have to have it. Now, it's not a chip where you're
it's not an arrogant or think you're
right, but it's I'll be back.
Believe in you.
Yeah, I'll be back. Whether I got to go figure it out, take a couple more classes, but I will be back. So it's a different kind of determination that I think even in athletes, they get mixed up. Their chip could be, sometimes their chip is very disrespectful. Instead of I'll be back, and then that's when they get the, I want this on my contract and I need this. No, that's not the kind of chip we're talking about. It's a determination.
I started to realize too, and I'm not saying this across the board, but I think being an athlete and for all the people who are watching and listening, like I think one of the things that I was able to take that really, really, really helped me was that I knew no one was going to work harder than me. I had coaches yell and scream at me and tell me the only reason I was there is because I was on scholarship, because I was playing basketball. I've been on the field. I've been out doing sprints at 5 o'clock in the morning and in the gym right after. And then at practice at 3 o'clock until 7:30. I had worked and then would go lift after that and then still have to do homework until midnight. I had worked so hard at something to where my body would be physically so beaten up and hurt and tired. And mentally I was there as well, that I knew there was no way in the world that someone could outwork me, because I knew how far I could push myself into getting the thing that I wanted, how hard I could work my body and how hard I could work my mind to get the thing that I wanted. And I think athletes have that. A lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
But you get that when you're an athlete and you got a coach breathing down your neck. You know what I mean? And you're trying to get on the field or trying to get on the court. And it is a hustle, it's a determination, it's a skill set that will behoove you when you find that other thing you're passionate at and you apply.
Oh, did they freeze on us?
It'll come back.
We just dropped. Oh, there we are. I was going to say that is so true, because it is that same mindset that got me to that level in corporate America as a corporate America executive. And it's the same thing that I think about today is in this season of my life, which is so much better than the last season, right? In the last season, sometimes you work hard when you should be working smarter, but it definitely takes working hard, right? Not going to shortchange that by any stretch of the imagination, because I'm like Jay, I was putting in those kind of hours in an office building, right, to get to that level. But now in this season of my life, I have such a different perspective when I'm looking at where I want to go and how do I want to do it. And so now I'm strategically saying, what is my niche, and how am I going to carve out a niche for myself? Because I'm not trying to do the same things that he's doing, right? We're in different phases of our lives. But I'm thinking now, okay, there's a niche for me, and I'm going to ride out my niche, right? I'm going to be good at my niche. I'm going to be known for my niche. I'm going to hit all of these different avenues that tie my niche up in a nice little bowl and bow. And then when you start thinking about this particular thing, you're going to think about me, because I want to do that thing and do it really, really well, right?
That's good.
And so, but it is still the hard work. The long hours and the hard work have to be there. There's no getting around it. And I would say I wasn't an athlete. I played basketball in junior high, my 8th grade year, and realized it was too physical. I was like, no, nobody's knocking me down. I wanted to fight it. I couldn't get past it. It was physical. So I was like, crazy. Did she scratch me? But my mom, I will say my mom and my dad have incredible work ethics, both of them. And that is something that I saw as a child growing up. My mom and my dad both had incredible work ethic.
So we're about to close out. Paula, what would you say to a parent dealing with that has an athlete? Like, what advice would you give them?
I think the advice you give them is similar to what you should be giving all kids.
Yeah.
Regardless, because every kid has a dream, right? Some want to play basketball, some want to be actors, some want to be CEOs, some want to be writers, some want to be school teachers. And the conversation should still be the same. I understand that getting to that 1% makes it tougher, but because there are so few that could get to that level. But I think you have to always be in your child's corner, and you always have to instill in them that they can absolutely be whatever it is that they want to be, no matter what anybody else says. You got to give them that early. They got to have a lane for it. They got to be able to run with that thing. So when they're getting the no, they get back up. They get the no, they get back up. They get the no, they get back up. Right. And, but you can't just say it. You got to believe it with them. When I said it to Jay, I believed it. When I looked at him, there was never a doubt in my mind that he couldn't be what he said he wanted to be. And he knew that. And he knew that from his dad and I. And we did everything we possibly. If Jay said I wanted to be a fireman, I would go out, buy the fire hat, find a uniform, like whatever. He said I want to be a basketball player, I go find a basketball, whatever Jay said, right?
Yeah.
And it evolved as a kid. There were a lot of things that he said. Whatever it was he said, we tried to figure out how to instill that thing in him. And then when he said, no, I don't think I want to do that anymore, we didn't browbeat him for not wanting to do that thing. We said, well, what is the thing? And let us encourage you in the thing, because everybody, and you're never too old to dream. I'm still dreaming now. I'm in another season of my life getting to do something where I get to dream in a way that I can't ever think, could have never thought about this. I mean, I had no idea what God had for me, but yet here I am again, getting to dream. Right. And so I understand what it's like to have a passion. And I would never want to raise a kid and not be instilling that in them. But I think along the way, you always have to be instilling and exposing so that they know all of those avenues that are available to them. So they're not just an athlete. And then if that doesn't kick off, or once they retire, then it's over. No, they've got to always be exposed to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. That's the thing that I would tell Jordan and them is like, okay, you have sports, but look at all the opponents connected to sports. You have the coaches, you have the physical therapist, you have the trainers, you have the camera crews. So it's like, you can still be a part of sports, but look at everything and everybody that's connected. So Jordan's like, I think I want to do I want to do personal training. So he's actually talking about going to school to get certified. So I'm like, see, that's connected to sports. So I know, like for Christopher, I make him play football for the mental part of things, because when he got in 7th grade and he played football, his grades actually came up to an A, that they put him in college classes. So I don't know, somewhere between that discipline on the field, knowing you have to keep your grades up, did something in the classroom that it advanced him. Now I told him, I'm not asking you to be famous, but I want you to play, because mentally it's a coordination. So, but he wants to be a scientist. So it's like, okay, well, you can look at, doctors dealing with sports and figuring out science, anything dealing with sports, or just however you want to do it. But I believe that it's always good to have that conversation. And we always say it on the show, to give your kids, like you said, another option.
Yeah,
Take them out and let them see.
It doesn't always have to be sports, right? He could be an MD.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be sports, but it's like, because we get so many sports questions, and we have those moms that see the little Johnny. I always say it on the show. Little Johnny could throw the football. And then all of a sudden she's like, okay, little Johnny gonna buy my house, my car. And so she just pushes him to, that's all you're gonna be. We've seen him, we've had conversations with him. I've seen it growing up. I mean, dealing with Jordan, you have parents like, this is who he is. This is what he's gonna do. This is my ticket out of here. And so then when you see him, he gets in trouble by 7th grade, 8th grade. He's got a nasty attitude. Coaches can't deal with him. And then everything falls apart, because there was never you're bigger than a sport. This is not just who you are. So, this was really a good show. I wanted to show how you started with sports, but your vehicle didn't end there. It took you a step higher. You never gave up playing. You passionately loved to play, but it opened another door, and you were okay with it. It was okay to transition.
Yeah.
I think that's what I want people to see. It's okay to transition. It doesn't make you less than, because the sport is not who you are. It's your vehicle. And when you were young and you realized this is a vehicle, okay, let me peep out here. Okay, you know what? I like that over there. But yet you still kept playing, but you still kept looking out. And then Paula came in as parents and going, okay, this is A, B, C, D, and E. You know what I'm saying? You laid it out, but then at the same time, you're like, but we still support you. So if you want to play, I'll go get you the gear. I'll go get you the basketball. I'll go get the goal outside. But at the same time, I want you to see this list. I'm going to take you to visit here. I'm going to show you this college, and I'm going to show you these opportunities. And then I'm going to let you see what I do. So it was good. Yes, Paula was the first to graduate. Jay was the second. And Dominique, my niece. Dominique, that's right. Dominique was the second, my niece, to graduate. Jay was the third, and Jordan was the fourth.
Yeah.
To graduate. All right, awesome.
Yeah, so.
I like that Paula was. She let her. Sometimes we don't let our kids go to bump heads and to live out their path. We can only take them to a certain spot, but we have to be willing to let them go. And I was able to see that. That's what she did, because she's like, you ain't coming back home.
Oh, listen, Paula tough. Look, my daughter went down there, and Paula coming to she ain't coming back. She too wimpy. She ain't coming back. I said, oh my God, she was tough, and it's funny because it's not just Jay. She's like that with her niece and nephews. It's like, no, you whining, girl, you ain't coming back. Because look, y'all, I know Jade go get me. So Paula called me. Dominique. Jade is on the floor rolling around. Paula calls me. She goes, look at this. Paula's cracking up because Jade was talking about her stomach was hurt. And she want my mama, right? So Jade was crying. Paula go, look at this. And she's cracking up laughing. Paula's tough.
Because she wasn't really sick, y'all, just so we know.
No, but the sympathy, she's tough. And then there's the loving moments, but the toughness, it mixed together. And so you see Jay because of it. But yeah, it was funny. So my Jaden is like, I don't know if I want to go back and visit. I say, yeah, good luck. Yeah, she let you come back. So
right.
But anyway, this was a great show. I want to thank you guys for joining the show. This has a lot, Karen. What you think?
It's been good. I think I'm glad that athletes and moms are able to see the other side, you know, life after sports. It's okay. There is life after sports. You know, God still has a plan for you. And so you just have to be willing to make the turn wherever he's leading you. And so I love Jay's his story and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. So I think they froze on us again. So anyway, this is your girl Shannon at Can We Talk Sports. This has been a great show. And I am here with my host,
Karen.
Y'all, I promise I'm gonna practice with her. Wait, oh, she doing all of this and all of I'm gonna practice with her. Karen.
All right.
All right. We talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye. Share the video.